As I told you, I have seen the chairman of the MPP who will lead his delegation to pay their last respect. I also see, if I'm not wrong, Joe Ose Wusu, who is the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. He will get in there and pay his last respect. That's in a shot, Samuel Uku, who is the organizer, the national organizer of the new Patriotic Party. We have around various KT groups who have been bringing the place alive since morning when the whole ceremony began. They've been treating us to some very good traditional music, as you can hear from the background. And so, as I told you earlier on, if you're still at home, this is the right time to make your way to the Accra International Conference Center, where the man who has both sides has been a military ruler and a democratic one for that matter. He is known for his stand. He's also known to be a disciplinarian. But on the other side, we are told he was a very compassionate and loving man who was a man of the people, who made sure that everyone who came close to him had a piece of him. This is the man we mourn today. It is day 2 of the 4-day state funeral. As I told you, tomorrow we'll still be here at the Accra International Conference Center, where His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his wife, and then the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and his wife, and then former presidents of the Republic. So we're talking about His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and then His Excellency the former president and their spouses will be here to pay their last respect. The diplomatic corps and the international community will be here tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we move to the Independence Square, where the final funeral rites will be held in honor of His Excellency, the former President, J.J. Rawlings. It's going to be an invitation to all Ghanaians from all walks of life. We got to see him for the last time before he finally takes a bow. We are still here at the Accra International Conference Center. As I told you, we've seen the leadership of the new Patriotic Party, led by their chairman, Mr. Freddie Blay. They have paid their respect. They will walk out, and then we get to speak to him. We'll get to speak to Freddie Blay, and then maybe Samuel Uku, who is the national organizer of the new Patriotic Party. And so there you have in your shots Honorable Freddie Blay. He is the leader of the delegation which has come to pay their last respect. Hello sir, good afternoon. This is GTV. So what was going through your mind as you filed past?
I can't hear you.
I'm saying, what was going through your mind as you filed past? Did you have any personal encounter with this man who lives in State 3?
What went through my mind is that...
I'm saying, as you filed past, what went through your mind? Did you have any personal encounter with him?
Very little personal encounter that I've had with him. I've known him as a political figure in this country who has been a leader of this longer than any other person. And it had a very serious impact on the Ghanaian community. And at the end of the day, we are human.
Okay.
So he's gone. Lesson, we must serve our own country in humility, with good heart, with fairness to all. That's all I can say.
As a party and leader of the party, do you have any words for the family, for that matter, Ghanaians?
Our sympathies to the family, particularly the widow who has stood thick and thin with him through. Appreciate that. But I think he's carried himself very well. Appreciate that.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you. Right, and so that was the chairman of the MPP, Honorable Freddie Blay. We also got to speak to Samia Uku, who is the organizer of the New Patriotic Party. So we just spoke to your chairman, who led your delegation to file past. I mean, did you have any personal encounter with this man who lives in state today?
Yes, I mean several. During their delegate conferences when I was delegated by the MPP leadership as well. And also when he lost his mom just a few weeks before his demise as well. He had a great sense of humor. And he stood for some values and principles. And it's our hope and prayer that even upon his demise, the rest of the nation will carry on with the very fight that he led, for probity and accountability in our political system. And I'm convinced that under Kufuor and the MPP administration, we are determined and committed to also upholding all these values for the betterment of our society.
As a party and for that matter, as a government, do you have any plans of institutionalizing the memory of Rawlings?
That is for government to decide, not the party to decide.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. And so Samia Uku is the national organizer of the New Patriotic Party, the MPP. We are still here at the forecourt of the Accra International Conference Center. In the background is music from various Kete groups who've come here to provide some traditional music as we say farewell to His Excellency J.J. Rawlings. Since morning, we've seen traditional rulers, we've seen religious leaders, we've seen leaders from the Islamic community, from the Christian community, where the shadow we have, coming to pay their last respects. You also want to come and do so before it's 5 p.m. because at 5 p.m. exactly, this particular place will be closed, maybe for preparations for tomorrow's ceremony. We have also seen NDC faithful wearing their NDC paraphernalia, who have come to pay their last respect. We've seen the cadres. We saw the party leadership. Early on, I saw Otokuno Buama, who is the Deputy Secretary of the NDC. He was here early on to pay his last respect. This is GTV's live coverage of the state funeral of His Excellency J.J. Rawlings. He went to Achimota School and then joined the military in 1979. That was in May. He staged his first coup, which was unsuccessful. He was arrested and thrown into jail and was awaiting execution. was freed by some young military officers who helped him make a comeback on June 4th, 1981. Handed over power to Hila Liman, and today we celebrate a man who has two sides, the military side and the democratic side as well. He is credited for the democracy we enjoy today. J.J. Rawlings will go home finally. In there we have the family. We've seen the widow, Nana Kunedu Ajiman Rawlings, and her children, Honorable Zaneto Rawlings, MP for Kole. We've seen Kimathi Rawlings, the only son of the former president. And so we get to speak to more personalities. We speak to Ambassador. Let's speak to Ambassador. All right, so good afternoon to you, sir, and welcome to Ghana Television. You have filed past. What was going through your mind as you did so? Maybe you've come to the final realization that the man is no more.
Yes, but you know, Jerry was such a great person. What he did for Ghana was incredible. Those who live in the hearts of the people, they never die. They live forever.
Right. You have been a staunch member of the NDC. Did you have any?
I'm a civil servant.
Right, but at least you worked. We worked with the NDC.
We went to school together with Jerry. I worked. I'm a career diplomat. I work for the government of Ghana. Any government of Ghana.
That's okay. All right. So, but did you have what's your personal encounters? Do you have any encounters with him? With this man?
Many. I thought we were in Ashwater School together. He was my senior in Ashwater School. He always stood for the little guy.
Yanko Accra International Conference Center na dwumadie kase a egusu na omemu nyina ye ni dakoto mujema ye no ye ni eho enkomo kakra amasapo nkuma mahai wadine susama mpanyini ada Ethiopia ene no di ehia ya obi abehwe na ne achi abantia ba kwa ye beto wa ha apia stadium enso frasante bantamu aba lene asapa wodie enya asanketwa na ye ni say no MPP one mudam tiani ye Fred play asoso eba ya wo chese say dia wo sha papa je wo kwa na asoso wo sa ne ba no okura mu ana ye papa no ye nyina ye somo asoman na ye hwe esane ko be ko ye di ti apro ye ne kata hye no enye kwa akwa ama sapon kuma tasi ye da mase ema mumo ene sha ahenewa
Deputy Chairperson of the African Union. We got to speak to some more personalities who have come to pay their last respect. Good afternoon to you. What's your name, sir?
My name is Charles Lomi.
Charles Lomi.
And then he had this popular watcher joint, Amalia Watching, that he used to buy his watcher and things. So I knew him all those years. And I also had the opportunity to work with him for a very short time. He's a good man. But the last memories I had of him was, I was at the mother's funeral. And I was working with him at that time, part of the security details. And the way he handled things, I don't even know what to say. But his last moment, when the mother was gone, I knew how close he was to the mother. I realized that something had gone wrong with the old man. And even on that night, we were looking for him to sit around us. We found him at the mother's grave in the night. And that is the last I saw of him. He's a great man. We can't have anybody like him again. He has brought a lot of impact to the world and to Ghana. And to some of us, he's an inspiration.
All right, thank you very much, Charles. Right? Yeah. Okay, so we are still here at the forecourt of the Accra International.
NPP amanyoko empanyufo aba ya ni omo ebedi kobo ye Freddy Play dom channel de ma NPP amanyoko ye ne no ebedi enkobo na ya bisa ne nsem ye no biensa ye Freddy Play Papa J at the form
I'm paying Rawlings as Sister when you baby quan or the hay. Ghana for Womianka there. Wababasum, a man in Norco. Obey everyone, many now. Chada in your quan, not some woman as some year. A man in Obacao. Bakwa sama at the name of my baby woman and our ding in our Obakai. Number K. Obey been one bay in Nina. This year, Yarastan bye bye. Yaman Fanny Christmas. Na Tamonosa, na Nepelda, Yabeshabu.
Even as a person, the Papa MPP as a Manoko, Yanni Ora, and Sami and Fu Entertain and Komokaka. Baba you.
I just saw.
NPP say amanyoko ye nim say papa je atiase no na money in term ego say ya wada we nyama no okra mu na nani ekoho no mo ba hwe e de adwuma
ne kra wo mo say ye mabusia ya akọ ene NPP two national chairman two party mpanifoɔ me abɛta n'akyi ame abɛma abusia yɛ akɔ na yɛsrɛ ne sɛ baabi bia papa gye yɛde ɛko ne duiɛ no yɛso so yɛbɛsa atoa so yɛsrɛ nyankopɔn hyira ɛde ma abusia na mene wɔgyidi
yɛnhwɛ deɛ sɛsei papa gye wɔgya na nakona du ɛwɔ akyire MPP asɛ amanyɔkuo mu wɔ adwene bi sɛ mobɛfa no ɛde no fam mo ho ama no abɛdɔ ne MPP anaa sɛn na mohwɛ no
Baby, I do the Yakamani or somewhere, ye. My young crown a chin, your prayer, Nebusias, come on. As for individual ambition, and then you'll be a person, would Germany panel, no one and I decided. Medicine.
Yes, so yeah, that's a part. Yeah, I was there for Abante, Samia, Ukuba, Sabrina, and Neche and Commono. Yeah, that's why I will be a Yadida, Yaman Penida, JJ Rawlings, and Ne na ansana ubaba bedru ha ube rebuno sisaya penifo de agu akwa so COVID-19 protocols no wodri kan dru ha ube fa gate mu international conference center ha ube re gate mu raba ye wo disinfection machine ahodo miensa uremu a na pu edro ade agu ho ansana wafro akọ dan kase no a emu ane ade amu no ato no na wakwa akotwa ne ho ehia na eso ho so hand sanitizer esisi wano mo a wo kona kɔhwɛ mu na wo ba wo san mia bi ade ya wo nsa na eno anankyɛn no wo hunu sɛ asɔgyafoɔ ya wo mu gyina emu ne ho no akyɛ sima enum bia wɔn mo ɛsesa wɔn mo ma foforɔ ɛba bɛgyina wɔn anan mu enti yɛkasa COVID-19 hyehyɛ yɛ dia ɛbɛkasa wɔn mo adi so Ghanafoɔ a ɛba so obi a ɛhyɛ ne mask kita ne hand sanitizer sɛdeɛ ɛbɛyɛ obi a bɛbɔ ne ho ban ɛde free yɛde akɔdeɛwuo COVID-19 ɛho enti yɛda so ɛwɔ atwɛnyɛm yɛde kan ɛbɛduru hɔ no deɛ ne mpanyinfoɔ ne kyerɛ ne akuku dan bebree na wɔn mo audi kan aba ɛkɔ dada ɛyɛ Ghana Immigration Service mpanyinfoɔ ɔman asɛ adwuma no aposifoɔ mpanyinfoɔ posi sahene na wɔn mo adi kan aba Yɛwura Johnson asi adun katia ɛne NDC ɛdɔm owura Alfred Agwashi wɔyome abante Sami Jamfi wɔn nyinaa di kan ba anɔpa no ɛba ntampa so ɛkɔ sɛ emu no ɛbɛduru hɔ no mo no num pɛpɛpɛpɛpɛ enti mpanyinfoɔ no ɛba ntam ne deɛ wɔn mo nyinaa ba bɛhwɛ n'ani akyi ɛkɔ yɛ Ghanafoɔ so ɛnam a wɔn so ɛhwɛ enti yɛda so ɛwɔ yɛ ase biribi ɛbɛsi wɔ ha bia yɛ mɔmɔni enkum a yɛbɛbɔ mumu amaneɛ sɛdeɛ esi ɛteɛ enti sɛ deɛ sojaman papaji a wɔkasa na nkɔfoɔ da no ɛnɛ ne nsa egu ne bo wɔfrɛ ne ntoma ɛwɔ ntintim mu yɛ ayɛ Ghana nyinaa ya ne wiase nyinaa ya na so wodi obi akasa a wɔse deɛ na gye kura mu no awasa wɔkɔ Ghana yɛsom yɛde yɛ adwuma ne yɛakuti akata hyehyɛ ɛne prɔyɛ ama sapɔ kuma gyasi mene gyogyare ɛne same
Abusiafo Accra International Conference Center ɛhɔ ɛna yɛgyina efiti enne de kopim ni wuku ada so de ɛhɔ na yɛbɛwɔ saa esan sɛ yɛ mampanyin dada President Rawlings odupon kɛse ɛna watutu a ɔdampem na adofo nyinaa ɛtwa ne ho ɛhwɛ n'ani akyi de etwa toe mpanyinfo kuku dam bebree efi Ghana chichi ne benkyɛ ne ntwa so nyinaa ɛkɔ akɔgya ne kwan de etwa to krakrakra ɛkɔpem sɛ yɛbɛkɔ akɔpɛ ne krabrɛ na mpanyinfo kuku dam bi te sɛ Samia Oku Freddy Blade ne wɔn na ɛkeka wɔn de kɔbɔ sɛ ɛboa mo wɔn nyinaa aka afoforo ho akɔ akɔkyɛ ɔdɔpa de ama omampin dada President Rawlings na busua ene omamu nyina afofo guso a eko enti ye wa ha de ye besan akọ Accra International Conference Center esan se ho na action ni nyina ewo
and the wife and the family and Senator Rawlings is my sister and it's my MP too.
Okay.
I love her.
All right.
I'm selling condolences to her family.
All right. Thank you very much.
With them.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. So as I said, the place is very much open to everybody. Open to everybody. From all walks of life. It doesn't matter your profile in society. You're very much welcome to come and pay your last respects. We got to speak to. Good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
You've done a filing past?
Yes, sure.
And then what went through your mind as you did?
Oh, I didn't believe he was dead, but I've personally confirmed he's dead now. And then my fond memories of him is I just like his charisma, how spirit-filled he is, and how courageous he is as a man. We've lost a gem, and he'll forever be missed.
Thank you. What's your name?
My name is Georgina Nete.
And were you connected to him in any way?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm from the Volta region, and I'm going to be precise. So one way or the other, I'm connected to him, and we've lost a father, a mentor, and a granddad. May his soul rest in perfect.
Thank you very much. That was...
Yanko COVID-19 and Samno Emwe, Ga East Nadmo Municipal Director, Owura Set Kofio Seikisi, on an impenium for Aqua Pro El Masalacha Hurua, a what Domekwa Benya Wokoshe, Sa COVID and Shishen, saying, and a Oman for Eddie Juma, Efa. Sorry, any incremofo asori dan ahodoa ewo kwa Benyamesi kupon assembly nim ena kwanchefo penyi edema assembly no edi mpenifo anim no mutu aprokohwe yese omudi coronavirus mra no eye adwuma Orua Seth Osekisi ene UTV edi nkomo no se Ghana fo wodome kwa Benyampotem won no ohamu nchemu aduokono enwotwe 98% die omo emfa COVID-19 embra no enye adwuma na se ya hwe anti oma wanhwe ya ne yade no agensemu woto aso ade aseda emankramofo ne so mudie omudi mra eye adwuma wo nkramofo asoridan ahodo anim sei enensem ne koye
COVID na abano say nadmofo ye adwuma titro ye prevention enti na wose etusi krom na eye ncheche mamamfo hu se yade no ewo ho na enkoye ye can't see kwabenya krom na tisi krom se na bebre enhye mask eye say yade no the president Canada say the depending na no say enye nokre enti no obi obehia so meja mask ofie obi obehia so meni bia ban brem bi ye free one ba mosque na eni je wo mo kwabenya mosque ne se bedu ho no ye ba han ba 10 o'clock ye ba no mo bucket sia bonten a semana na de nyina wo ho omo behia so na se obi oba bia no so no odika horo ne nsa ansa na ko fa buta no akoye onyankopon afamode no de hu ye no so se ko mosque wo no obi a hye mask on sha omo ma akwa ma hu ra mosque wo ko bompae ende wo kwabenya mosque de kama ne mo kwabenya kro na nkasa de asodin ewom omo to ade o omo mo koba o obi eni wa o hye mask ono mo kakra na no mbofu ne mo yato ebo acheche ma kire omo esane se efi adwoda ebe kwabenya police command ene na mbofu ebe tie kokrom na obi bia mbe hye na so teka mu ana onam fo mo hye mask bia no se da mra no abaya hye to no ene samra na pepe ayeduma
bia san hye we ewo ho obraba ye hwem ni nkura ye hwe se obi ahuru ni sa no huru sa na on hye na de we ansana so beba masarachi insada na waba na mo so oba ama wan ye ni dem tumi pam se ko che ye ka so mudidi agora omo hwe na ho bechi mu nti ye mfuta dem je se omo sa amoaso de ye di no embrace na de ye ka no omo tumi engine tumu ni nose mask no omo tumi enhye na mfaso enye omudi
Papa J, free way, can be a better hole, gap be a better one, bet to me how man.
Well, yes, there's certainly a gap, but it depends on how Ghanaians interpret that gap and what they want to do with it. I believe that in life, we come and we go. So it's always expected that at some point in time, there will be such a gap. But if you make good use of it, you invariably will be able to learn a lot of lessons. The gap is a physical gap of his absence, but there is a value and a spiritual gap that doesn't exist. And those still live with us, and we can make best use of them.
I was for Papa Niano, Eddie, and Cobono. What share as Papa J, live free our free honor. I can't see and I bet Daho at the Ama of my Ghana. Yeah, can't home from Padia, what she said. Papa J, quote, woo, yeah, you who is so one number of him, and I or Casabium. Now so, and your man no crumb at the was a minor, your somo, I say, was here a come cassia, now your how cassia the Maria sing in every prim, and you my Ghana, dear SC. And he said, the Abusia for Yadaswa. Ewo atweyemwa ye hwe se enema nyina betimi aye tote ebusua ye maame na nakunadu President Rawlings ene ebusua de ye kasai wo mutiamu ne ho ewo edan ne mu be bia yadeda Papa J no eho no mo ene wo mo wo enti obi awuramu na woduru emu ne ho a na wadane ne ho abonimu ase achia ebusua ansana watwa emu no ho ahia asan apie enti say dear Yadaswa ewa hadomo yari omanfo no a aba ebehwe amu ni bi nso bedidi nkomo ebre kobra no na yehu sede de omu free eni baby a de enti a wo mo ba nkofo fia chichi ni bencheye yani abanje ba ko apia stadium kasa wo se ahomache eni obu na ketem fra santemantemu nkofo fia chichi Papa do Papa J ne ho awodo pi ya enye asenketwa ekra na yensa aka yewura omare wade MPP amanyokuo no ye ka wonum a ni ejina party na nem ekasama party na echese woje twetwa wuro ni ba kopa the gentle giant wa bejina menchan e wa hamira me mo hamu akwa aba eba UTV
Major so many am
due na minnie
ndasi
papa
ta wani mi hu
me pa cha amasapon kuma jasi
odo he na sie na mi hu
yo papa J ene da empaso yi etia yi na ye ka se be ma na ka wotimi command Ghana na enipa anyina hyedem ene wa kye ne nsa agu ne boba ma owo abefa no dia na woni Ghana ne abusu anyina eche
areho sempa ene membe pie hanom na mehwe papa J Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings na odaho na ontumi nkasa ye twan hoko wom timi na limpo no ahwede set mama started say me twin say nipa yakra ya adan ya ye pepre ye ho sa nipa adan ya tete yen hu yenya hwe obi anya hwe so ye kese so ye tintin tie akoko fita a day like this will come that be say ebeba and it's gotten me thinking say babi abedro bi afabu manipa na onya hwe na me kai say ai nsem bia na okeka enema bia na oye ekwan ya na ofa so eye ne niema anne odampam a wontimi nkeka na ondo abani dia wie o na ka me no mienu wa ni dia wie waka na asema wie yan dia ne ebe ya to aso adumi no mienu susu eso this man stood ne debia na nsema oka nyina se yankuntia keta hye ne proye yankuntia sa injustices yamfa no kredie yeni no krema yen ho waye wawe woko so menum yenu ne nsem o kan ye no sabe wafimu nti ne nsem na sana sabe ontia onka atiasefo ho nti yentwangu me de me feel say senka ye se tekrema mpro na nensemu ano okeka no probity and accountability, fighting against corruption, indiscipline, injustices and kasa papa ni neda odam pamuno I think etimi de kai near the kai ho as citizens of Ghana ni ehwe de yen betumi aye ama nensemu ano oka no abam to da bia obi free mu say ya enama na asam etre say Yesu Kristo nka wanwa nka wuso de no ama nkomhye no ama nsem obeka ye no enti nka papa yi free mu nne no ka meme de nyaaya anka yemfa nkwa adwendwen mu na ne nsem oka ye no edie ni ebetumi na na yeso okosi gotamu timu enne gotamu aifie na se mu aye clean. What can we do? Nemo aka nemo ye no yemfa nkwa adwendwen mu mu amoy century for radio come starting project bring out the old memories and how we can whether we learned anything from what he was saying and what we can do to make ninsemo anase ni wuo no ebetimi a benefit the whole nation.
Papa Jane hu do bebre entino enura wo mu ye apese adwumadie e de ma na Air Force officers mess for ene ka wo hu bo ma wo ye adwumadie a ente se e de ehye ne munyam na yiri na nakono do President Rawlings ne ma Zenato Amina Yasanto ene Kimati wo mu nyina ekwase ebie echi no mpanyimfo bia wo mu di mu e wo mem so e de wani munyam ekotae apese no echi
last days. He died betrayed. He felt betrayed. That book, that was, and the response that came from those he worked with really hit him very hard. We did our best to get him, to restrain him from responding, but it was a big blow to him. Then come the mother's death, and that also hit him very hard. His last days were not his best, apart from the medical condition that deteriorated.
And I think when Ya and I were quite young, Ya comes right after me. And the gate was quite noisy. So as he would drive in through the gate, Ya and I could hear the gate, and we would run into our rooms and try and hide our shoes behind the wardrobe, because every time he'd come into the room and open the wardrobe and stand there for a few seconds. You have too many shoes. Why do you need so many shoes? You know, when he was young, he didn't need this many shoes. So why do we have so many shoes? So it was this lecture that you kept getting, and you thought, no. So as soon as he's coming into the room, we'd run ahead of him and try and hide our shoes, because we just couldn't handle the lecture over and over and again. I remember in the 90s, when we first got the Defenders in the Air Force, and he was flying the Defender. Every new aircraft that arrived, whether it was a fixed wing or rotor, he just had to get his hands on it. And so with the Defender, he came over to pick me up, and said we should go flying together. And I remember my mother wasn't at home at the time. My other siblings were there, and a friend of my mom's was there. And he said, okay, let's go. And then my mom's friend said, but why won't you go with the others? And then he said, well, we're going to do an simulated engine failure. Actually, we're going to fly asymmetric. So he was actually going to switch one engine off, and we're going to fly on one engine and try and keep the plane that way, and then restart the engine. And then he said to the woman, and she said, well, if we all go and something goes wrong, we'll all die. But if I just go with her, then only one child will die. And I remember how he'd get upset if we all flew on the same aircraft, because, he says, decrease the chance of the whole family dying and split yourselves up and that kind of thing. So he was just an interesting man, and what she saw is what she get.
We were invited by the late Colonel Achampong in late 75 to come back from Egypt and come back home basically and reconnect with our family, our culture and everything. And we were here till the early 80s. So we knew former President Rawlings between 79 and 81, before the second coup, let's put it this way. But I'm really here to show my solidarity and respect to the family for his memory. We might not agree with everything he did, but I think there's a time when we all have to come together. We have to forgive, and somehow we have to channel the pain into something constructive for our country and our people. Now, former President Rawlings, maybe what I can say is that like Osachifo Kwame Nkrumah, he was charismatic, and he appealed to all men and women in Ghana, and I think that's perhaps something you could say they had in common, that they could feel people and reach out to them, and people also could feel them and relate to them.
My first encounter on a direct and personal level was somewhere around 82, when he came to La for a cleanup exercise, and the entire township came out to engage in the exercise. Some just wanted to see him, others wanted to have a chat with him, and that was the first time I had a very close encounter with him.
There's nothing I want more. Yeah, I would fight for you. I'd lie for you. Walk the world for you. Yeah, I'll die for you. You know it.
Jumedie fefefa enura mpanyifo ede hihye so ewo officers mess ede ja omampanyin dada President Rawlings ekwan no kakra eni eyi ede echire mo no ye gina we so na kase bo no ye de asi na bibia ebekoso we afidie so de eyo omampanyin dada President Rawlings ne ho nsem ene de wababeye ene de enei odampem no omanfo eka ede fa ne ho enti madaroma ye betwe ho na ye ba ye besade mako Accra International Conference Center obanima afia chesiedu edamase.